Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Red and Blue News. Welcome to Sunday's Red and Blue Review. I am your host. My name is Nick Philpott. I'm joined this evening, and I'm delighted to be joined this evening by Sir Ian Lyons. Ian, good evening, mate.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us. And as you can see, is not only our wingman, okay, but my football wife, okay, Lucy Usher has joined us. Hi, Luce. You're right.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me back.
Well, listen, great to have you back. Thank you. Jel, ladies and gentlemen, has had a little bit of bad news this evening. Jel, our hearts and our thoughts go out to you, mate, and your family. Give me a call in the morning. I just want to make sure you're okay. So Lucy is very kindly, not only is she producing and pushing all the buttons for us, she's also, because she was also at the game, you see. So how cold were you at the game, Mr. Darling?
It was probably afterwards that I got a bit chilly. It did force me to buy a new hat. So Palace coffers are a bit fuller, which was unexpected. But no, all good. It was pretty dry, wasn't it? So best.
Well, talk to me about heated seats and tell everybody about heated seats.
Very kindly, Nick gave me a lift home after the match, very gentlemanly, and he revealed that he's got heated seats, which was an absolute pleasure. I'm just going through some of you saying hello, so thank you very much. I'll try and get you all on the screen, so keep that coming.
I can't get them up on the screen. I'll have a look at myself in a minute. So good evening, wherever you are. Good morning from Andy Hopper in Australia. Andy, keep listening because Australia will come up in conversation at some point this evening. So or sometime this morning in your time. Some of it is Lucy, not Lucci. I can see that. But hey, how you doing, mate? Thank you for joining us, wherever you are watching in the world. Okay, coming up on tonight's show, as you can see, I'm joined by these two lovely people, and we're going to be reviewing yesterday's Arsenal game. We will be announcing the winner of this, the only podcast you can watch, Red and Blue Review mug. Now, we have something contentious going on, but we won't tell you about that at the moment. For some lucky watchers, as well as catching up on your questions. And before we came on air, ladies and gentlemen, I've got to tell you, Ian and I were talking about not only the quality of the questions, but the quantity of them as well. They've been coming through over the weekend by the hundreds. So thank you for all your contact, all your content, because this is what this show is all about. It's about us talking to you. The tagline of the show is "Let's have a conversation." So what we're going to do this evening is we're going to go through the match quite quickly. Okay, we're going to go through the match quite quickly, and we are then going to spend more time on your questions because there are just so many of them. Don't forget, you can also find us on. Get your pens and paper ready. Twitter, YouTube, the big head medias at any time to either watch or listen to our podcasts, okay? Or you can download this or any other one by simply going to the redandbluereview.co.uk. Go to the redandbluereview.co.uk and all our back catalogue are on there, and we want you to enjoy them. So if you are doing a Tim Richards, now let me explain to you guys out there watching the show who Tim Richards is. Tim Richards is our New Zealand correspondent, and he is currently winging his way to the airport. I think it's Auckland, where he's flying over from New Zealand for family reasons. But he's also, and I've never met him, and I'm really looking forward to it. He's also him and his lovely wife are joining me as my guest at Sellers Park for the Southampton game, which is on Tuesday the 21st. So, mate, safe flight, okay? When you get there, give us a shout, okay? And we'll sort out all the details about the Southampton game. Where should we start, Ian? Should we start with the lineups?
I'll start at the very beginning, mate. What I want to know, Luce, is did he remind you about these heated seats after he dropped you off and was driving away?
Yeah, it was a little bit towards where just outside my. It was about 5 minutes, and in typical Nick form, he admitted that he'd had the car about 3 months before he realised he'd got them. So that cheered me up quite a lot.
Thank you for throwing me under the bus. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen out there watching, before we get into this, okay. The laughter in the background is simply because I'm renowned for being an old dinosaur when it comes to anything technology, okay? And yeah, they're both sitting there going, yeah, that's right. Nick is crap at it, okay? And you know what? I don't care. And I'm not bothered about it. It's not my bag, but there you go. So the story goes, I bought this Renault Capture, top of the range car, very quickly top of the range car in that field. Okay, it was an ex demo, so we knew that it was loaded with all the goodies, all the bells and whistles should be on this car. Okay, and my old car had a button on the dashboard for the heated seats, and Lucy's absolutely right. It was certainly over a month I had that car before I looked down my passenger seat down here, driving seat down here, and there was this little button.
Just the driving the car.
And there you go. Right, so you can take the piss all you like, fill your boots. Nick Philpott is rubbish on technology, we know that. Lucy, just to let you know, I can't see any viewer numbers, so but not that it makes any difference on the top of our chat screen. Okay, right, could we start up, guys, if you wouldn't mind? I'd like to start with the lineup, as Lucy has very kindly put it there. In goal, Guaita, Kelly, Tompkins, Cahill, and Riedewald. And boy, are we going to touch on Riedewald during this show. MacArthur, Kouate, McCarthy, Mayer, Zaha, and Ayuk. Now, on paper, you'd actually say, do you know what? That's actually a decent lineup. Ian, when you saw the lineup come out, what do you think? Yeah,
no, similar to the Derby game, I thought, okay, and that's considering the amount of injuries that we've got currently, mainly to what you'd consider first names on the team sheet. That's a good lineup, and again, as I said, it's so good to see the likes of Cahill back and staying fit, touchwood, and Tompkins staying fit. Obviously, we knew that Zaha and Kouate are still carrying injuries. But you know, they patch them up, get them out there. But as we'll come on to, that's not necessarily the best policy.
No, indeed. I mean, we'll also be talking about Zaha in some great detail. It's one of those things where I want to do Zaha, and I'm itching to do the Zaha subject now, okay? Because I actually made a comment in our chat last night, and I don't think anybody else has seen it. But so you're not going to be aware of what we're going to be talking about later on. And I think before we do get into the Zaha stuff, and we'll do it later on, but I think it's right that we just underpin what Ian has just said, okay? And that was the fact that he's still carrying a knock, okay? So yes, he didn't have the best of games yesterday, which we'll get into. But I think Ian's right. He's still carrying a knock. So was he protecting that for some other reason? Is there a reason why he wasn't going forward? Blah blah blah. We'll do that later in the show. So the lineup, Lucy. You and ladies and gentlemen, Lucy was with me all afternoon, and it's hello, Phil Usher. I can see you on the screen. I hope you're well, mate. And the lineup I thought was healthy. Riedewald. We had lots of conversations about Jairo Riedewald yesterday afternoon. What were just give you an overview on what you thought of Jairo?
I thought he had a great game. You could see the confidence building from him from the start as well. Obviously, he's on the left wing. Left back, linking up with Wilf. I thought also sort of there were some interactions where he was passing to Wilf. That was quite clearly the plan. And Wilf, I know we're going to get sort of back onto Wilf's game, but there were times when sort of Jairo would just, I'm not very good at saying his name, would then sort of cut in and maybe kind of take the initiative to push forward a little bit himself, especially in the sort of the second half. But he had a sound game. He was really, really confident. It was great to see.
Yeah, certainly seems to be gaining confidence, doesn't he?
Do you know what, mate? You've just taken the words out of my mouth. I was about to say to you, over the last few games, he has grown and grown and grown. Everybody said that there is a player in there. Well, boy, are we starting to see that now. To the point that, if he carries on in this vein of form, Ian, the manager, when Van Aanholt comes back, Schlupp comes back, he's going to have a decision to make, isn't he?
Well, no, because Wolf would be gone by then, and we'll just play PVA on the wing, surely.
He's not going anywhere. Shut up. Right, okay. I'm gonna turn away in a minute. I'm gonna let you do your little bit on the game, if you would be so kind, because I need to update my screen. So, Ian, give us your thoughts and a run through of the game, please.
Okay. Well, I think as has been the pattern certainly for the last couple of games, the game got off to a similar pattern, sitting off the opponent, allowing them to pass the ball around, not knowing whether to press or stand. I mean, it's something that we know that Arsenal are a good passing side, and it was the same approach that we had at the Emirates. I mean, you and I went to that, didn't we? Because it was the walk beforehand, as it was this time round as well. And it was just bamboozling, because having done it once and been punished and being cut, sliced through like hot butter through knife, first time round, why on earth are we doing it again second time round? So on 12 minutes, the inevitable happened. Arsenal slick passing, saw them slice through us. Aubameyang, to be fair, took a fantastic through ball, gloriously. The first touch was sublime and the finish was clinical. It was a thing of beauty, if there is such a thing when someone scores against you. But you have to admire its technical excellence. And then the game settled down. They didn't really want to press us. We were still concerned and cagey. And 15 to 35 minutes, they just simply controlled the pattern of play, breaking any chance we had of an attack down with cynical fouls, especially from Xhaka. Every chance he got, and Socrates. Every time they got anywhere near one of our players, when they were in possession, they threw themselves to the ground and got a free kick, conning the ref. When they weren't in possession, they were just mauling our players. It's like playing against 11 Luka Milivojevic's. And then on 35 minutes, something weird happened. I think MacArthur started to get a little fed up and a little tired of, them just playing the ball around the back three and then just pinging it through the line and then making their attacks. And he started to pressure. He didn't get quite close enough, but when he did it, then Ayew did it. And we didn't even win the ball, but there was like 3 or 4 high presses, and then the crowd suddenly wakes from its slumber and the atmosphere starts being generated. I mean, there's nothing worse than Arsenal fans singing "Where's Your Famous Atmosphere" to us at our ground. I mean, that was purely embarrassing.
But was that the point, though, Ian? Okay, I'm going to just interrupt you if you don't mind, because somebody made a point in the chat earlier that it wasn't that point with McCarthy. What started it? What started the atmosphere? And by the way, Lucy, I'm back up again now, so I can see it all now. What they thought triggered
drop ball
was the drop ball scenario. If you want to do that first,
yeah. Well, I mean, it was all in and around the same period, period anyway. But the game just completely dived as far as the spectacle was concerned. But the point being is that if they want the crowd, we will support the team no matter what. Most fans will support the team no matter what. But it has to be. It's like what do they call it? A symbiotic relationship, if you like. There has to be something on the pitch for us to support. Otherwise, what is the point? And at that point, no, I'll take that as I'll take that for granted. Maybe it was the drop ball that ignited it. And we then started to get a bit of pressure, building a bit of pressure up.
Yeah.
And it took until the 41st minute for our first shot on target. Guaita skipped around a couple of players on the edge of the box and let fly. Only unfortunately straight to Leno. He parried it down and then picked it up with no real scare there. But that was 41 minutes. 41 minutes until we actually started to get in their faces and not let them dictate what was happening to us. So moving on to the second half, that started on a more positive note. The team were noticeably playing 5-10 yards higher up the pitch. We were stopping them playing it around at the back with a higher press. And fair play to Roy Hodgson. He's obviously told them that. He's seen that that's what's happening. And they've taken it on board. And then as a result of the pressure building up on 54 minutes, it didn't actually look as though there was any imminent danger of them conceding a goal and us scoring one. But Ayew took a left-footed shot from the centre of the box across to the from the right centre of the box across to the left-hand corner. I'm not even sure whether it was actually on target or not. But David Luiz sticks his foot out, and like most defenders, when you're facing your goal as well, and you're sticking your ball's coming across, it's the worst ball that you can actually have because 8 out of 10 times you're going to deflect it on target, and that's exactly what happened. Or what actually happened is it went into the ground, and then looped over Leno. But we'll take any goal at the minute. You know, and Ayew, as we've said previously, is worth his weight in gold for us at the minute. I mean, there are a couple of players that have earned us a lot of points this season, but he's certainly one of them. So 1-0, 54 minutes. The atmosphere is building, getting cranked up. Maya then goes close with an effort across the goal, 57 minutes. And then just to put us in our place, they have a corner on 61 minutes. David Luiz gets up beautifully, times his header so well, and it just skims across the top of the bar and over, thankfully. But that was just like a little shot across our bow. And then, arguably, the talking point in a match, 65 minutes, that tackle. I mean, it was. I don't know if any. I'm sure a lot of people would have seen Match of the Day, and there'd been a discussion on whether it was a red card. I mean,
Danny Murphy yeah. And Mark Keown on the radio. You couple of donkeys. You couple of. What are you on?
I mean, okay. Intent. It wasn't intended, so you can't say, well, it's all about intent but that is by the by. You can see there how he's not broken anything. I mean, he's obviously went straight off, and I don't know whether or not he's done any ligament damage at the minute. I don't know if that's actually been said at the minute.
He did walk off, in fairness, didn't he? So that's got to be a positive sign.
Well, yeah, it is until you rest, and then the next morning it balloons up like anything. But they would have had eyes on it. He'd have had the best people looking at it. But nevertheless, that is a red card all day long. You know, how there even any discussion otherwise is ridiculous.
Your brother just said in the chat it was a red. It doesn't matter about intent or not. It was a red. You could argue. Okay, so compare that one before you carry on, Ian. Compare that one, if you would be so kind, to the Sacco one on the halfway. Funnily enough, probably in the same place a few weeks ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, Sacco's was slightly different. Sacco had lost control of the ball and then won the ball, but then Sacco went up and caught the guy the Bournemouth player on his knee, and he did catch him, and it was higher. But by the nature of that, by the fact that he actually caught him with his studs up, it is a red. So, they're two different challenges, but that is more of a serious challenge. But they're both red cards. And obviously then that has resulted in off them down to 10 men, Mayer going off and Tosun coming on.
Cenk.
Yeah, Cenk, not Jank. Cenk. So we need to get that right. And then for the next 20 minutes, Palace putting the pressure on, few chances that come and go, but really come to nothing. And Arsenal are pretty much hanging on. And then, again, sucker punch. When you're playing against such a technical side, you have to be on your game for the full 90-plus minutes. And on 85 minutes, Guaita, who's the other player I was referring to with regards to getting us points this season, double save. I mean, you saw Pepe hit the post and then he gets it square in the face. But what you don't see, and what I didn't see, and I'm sure no one else saw until there was a different angle from it put on by the club, is he gets a fingertip onto it to put it on the post in the first place.
We couldn't see,
and then throws his face in front of it.
I'm just going to jump in there a second, if you don't mind, Ian, because we were there yesterday. Yeah. And of course, that was the far end loose. We didn't know that at the time, did we, that he touched it onto the post?
No. It was, wow. There was a few, not really sure what happened there, but not really sure how we got away with it. But incredible goalkeeping once again from him.
Ian, if you don't mind, I'm going to just hold you for a second and just keep your powder dry for a minute, okay? Lucy.
I'll be close.
Lucy, would you do me a favour?
Of course.
Do what we were just talking about in the chat?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to do some hellos here, and thanks for joining us today. So we've got Linda Drew, we've got Paul Holden, we've got Prima Jana Guy, we've got Ryan Corbett, we've got Ty Kane, we've got David Hancock, George Uwagwu. George, it was lovely meeting you yesterday, and as well as John Knox as well. So it was great to see you guys. Nick Terry.
George. Wow.
I met my friend George after about a year of chit-chatting. We've got Nigel Croucher, Simon Crebin, Lee Huntley. We've got Vince Flynn. We've got Vicky and Phil Usher, strong usher contingent tonight. Paul
Cool,
Solon, Paul Glance, Rob Donovan, Miko Kurinen. We've got Andy Stacey as well. If I've missed you off, I'm sorry. We've also got Jordan.
Summer, Jason.
Yeah, we've got Sommer, Kevin.
Yeah.
Hello, Kev. You're right. Just fun. Thanks for joining. It's great reading all your comments. I'm trying to do them both. The ones on the if you're watching live via Red and Blue Review, I can get your comments on the screen. If you're doing it via the watch party on Red and Blue News, I'll have to try and read yours out. So we will have time for that after the review by Ian, I promise. But we will get to you, I promise.
Please don't forget, all of you out there, wherever you're watching the world, welcome to the review. We are immensely grateful. But please, 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 as we said last week, do your own watch parties. Just hit the invite button and share button, and then hit the watch party, and it goes out to all your people on your own particular wall. So we would love them to come and see what we're doing and join us this evening. Ian, I'm sorry for interrupting, but it was a remiss of me to say hello to some people earlier on.
Never apologise. Right, so that is it. You stuck me right at the end. So that's essentially got us. And we'll struggling up front much.
Lucy, do you want to drop him down?
Yeah, sorry about that, Ian. I'm going to drop you down and just refresh you, so hopefully.
So Crystal Palace have gone 4 consecutive league games without defeat against Arsenal for the first time. 1-1, drawn 3. Arsenal have failed to win any of their last 15 Premier League away games against sides starting above them in the table. That's drawn 4, lost 11. Since a victory at Leicester City back in September 2005. This was an interesting one. 95% of Crystal Palace forward Jordan Ayew's Premier League goals have been scored in the second half. And that's not just for Palace, obviously. This is since he's been playing in the Premier League, which is out of 22 games, 21 of them have been scored in the second half. The highest percentage of any player in the competition to have scored at least 10 goals. Arsenal's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Lacazette have combined for 10 Premier League goals since the Gabonese strikers debut in the competition. Ian, welcome back.
Hello.
Welcome back, mate. You there?
Yeah, so, I mean, you were doing what I was going to do. I was just about to go to stats anyway. That's a crazy stat, isn't it? The two. I think the fact that Arsenal were failed to win in any of their last 15 against teams above them on the day they're playing them, and that Ayew one.
Yeah, absolutely right.
I mean, maybe we should only bring him on for the second half anyway. So
talking points from the game, then you two, both, and Lucy, you can jump in at any point here. Okay, we're going to do Cenk Tosun's cameo. I'm going to give you mine and tell me if this is something you thought similar when you first saw him in a red and blue shirt on Sellers Park. Oh, we've re-signed Glenn Murray then. Because to me, he looked like Glenn Murray running around. He's got a very similar in stature, very similar in presence on the pitch, what he was trying to achieve on the pitch. Ian, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, last week we were discussing the possible signing anyway, weren't we? And for me, I said, heart says no, head says yes. He's going to do a lot of running around. He's going to win the ball back. He's going to do what Murray did. He's going to be a pain in the backside, isn't he? And it was interesting before, because I didn't actually go to the game yesterday. I watched the first half, then I ended up playing yesterday afternoon. But they were saying, I think it was Joe Cole and Peter Crouch on BT Sport. They were saying exactly what we had said last week on the pod. It doesn't matter if you've got Jesus up front. If you're not going to give him a cross, he's not going to do anything with it. And we've got to change. And when you've got people like Ayew and Wilf on the wing, they want to cut in and score themselves. They are not. The last time we saw a striker with the service that he deserved was Murray up front, and you had Wilf on one side and you had Balassi on the other side, just taking on players and then getting the ball in the box. But what was interesting on the highlights that I saw on Match of the Day is that we did at least try that a couple of times. And when you put the ball in the box, he's going to be there challenging against. Doesn't matter who it is against. He is very much going to be in the mix. So it'd be interesting to see if we change our style.
Absolutely right. Okay. Next on our little running order, we're going to do Zaha now, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, I think we're going to spend about 5 or 10 minutes on Zaha. I can see it here. I've had dozens of questions. Okay, I'm going to give you my opinion in a minute. I'll start off with the first one I've come to. Mark Bushell. Mark, good evening, mate. Thank you for your question during the afternoon. I really appreciate it. Do you think Wilf just needs to go now? I'm done with him, to be honest. He was awful yesterday. He spent the game moaning at everyone. Then he stormed off the pitch, throwing his strapping without any acknowledgements of the fans. He clearly thinks he's too big for us now. So let's just get the deal done and move on. Right, okay. And I will tell everybody, in case they don't know, what we witnessed or what Lucy and I definitely saw yesterday afternoon. So the final whistle went, and normal procedure was going on the pitch. Players going up, shaking each other's hands and everything else. Both sets of fans going to acknowledge their own supporters. Are you being interviewed by BT Sport? Blah, 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 blah. Wilf Zaha literally turned on his heels and walked straight off the pitch. I am also aware that sometime in the first half, and there was a long thread about it on Twitter today, that he turned around to somebody in the stands, in the old stand, in the main stand, was giving him a load of stick, and he turned around to him and told him to F off, and didn't do it once, did it 3 or 4 times, kept coming back to him, kept giving him the eyes, kept giving the same bloke the eyes, telling him, just F off, F off, F off.
What are these people doing? You know, it's just bonkers. I mean, no matter whether he has a bad game or not, he's on the pitch playing for us. Digging the guy out is not going to make him play any better. You know, so I do wonder about the mentality of some of our so-called fans, if he was one of our fans. You know, he's just bonkers. He's been playing with an injury. And as I alluded to at the very start, I'm not so sure we should be playing players. I know we've got an injury crisis, don't get me wrong, but through what Wilf has given yesterday, I would just give him the game off. I'll give him the next game off and make sure he's fit. Okay? Or if he insists on playing, and say, Wilf, if you insist on playing, that's no problem. But if you're not going to turn in an effective performance, I'm going to yank you off anyway. And Roy needs to be a bit stronger. He did pretty much bugger all against Norwich as well, because unknown to us, he had an injury. Apart from that one little bit of brilliance where he got the ball across for the goal. Fair play, okay. But you can't keep waiting 80, 90 minutes for that to happen if someone's playing badly. Now, you got 3, 4 kids on the bench. They were down to 10 men. With Brandon Perrick, you've got someone who has shown a decent turn of pace, a decent attitude. Went missing a bit against Derby, but I don't necessarily think that was entirely his fault. So for the 15 minutes to go, say, Wilf, you've done really well. You know, give yourself a bit of a break. This twonk in the crowd, get him off your back as well. Go and sit down. Job done. Brandon, on you go and terrorise them for 15 minutes. But we don't do that because we don't have that foresight. We're still very much, as a club, in a defensive mode, both on the pitch and off the pitch. But there is no room for anyone digging any of our players out. You know, certainly not at the game where you're going to adversely affect their performance.
Okay. Lucy, I'm reading in the chat. Rob Donovan says, evening, Rob. I hope you're well, mate. Played him as he tracks 2 defenders, but Arsenal sussed this out and then he should have been taken off. He also said in Zaha's defence, he was injured, and it's just gone off my screen. He was injured. Players are not robots, entitled to a bad game against an attitude was appalling, bottled every tackle. Now, you and I were standing in the Homesdale yesterday, and we had a conversation with what we saw, especially in front of us when he was on the left-hand wing. What did you think?
It's really difficult, isn't it? Now, I'm not someone who's ever going to slate Wilf. I love him to bits. I love what he's done for the club, and it's quite clear that very soon, imminently, if not this transfer window, the next one, he will be leaving the club. And it looks like he's already mentally left the club, or he's behaving in a way that is distancing himself to leave the club when he does go.
Good point.
and you can feel the crowd getting tired and weary and getting on his case, which we know is not the best way. And it's also kind of, it's rude. Look what he's done for us. He has been immense. And I agree with Ian. I don't get why you would dig him out. But it's really frustrating seeing him get frustrated and throwing his arms up and getting into a hissy fit and then storming off the pitch at the end and not sort of giving the fans a clap, not doing what I would call basic manners. And, maybe I'm kind of completely missing the point. And, these sort of thoroughbred players that, are kind of on this higher echelon, then, then that's not expected of them. But it doesn't take much to just, even if he doesn't mean it, just have some manners.
Yeah, exactly. But Luce, during the game, we were talking, and as things were going on, Riedewald's now pushing on a little bit, and he's actually having a really good game. Couple of wonderful flicks and everything else, and then the ball will come through to Zaha in front of him. Okay, and his first trigger movement right the way through the game was, and I know he was surrounded by players, was to turn around and play it back as opposed to play it forward in any way. No take-ons at all, or very few take-ons during the game. Somebody asked a question in the chat earlier today: was he protecting his injury from a potential move?
Yeah, and do you know what? Like you say, his stock kind of movement was to ping it back. However, we also saw him. He would, when he was sort of facing, sort of going forwards, he would stop and he was stationary, and so that kind of leads me to think, he was protecting himself from an injury. Maybe not even sort of going forwards, thinking of the transfer. Maybe, like as people have rightly said, he's carrying an injury. He's going to be protective of that so he doesn't worsen. But it was really notable that he would get the ball and he would hold off and he'd just sort of stand there, and he was really static, which, normally he gets the ball and you just see his feet like in a hazy blur of wonder. But it wasn't like that yesterday, and it was really frustrating to see, really frustrating. And then that kind of then gets the crowd kind of on his back as well, and it kind of is then this vicious circle that leads him storming off the pitch. But I'm just going to read out some of the comments with regards to this. So Tim Richards: hey Tim, I think it comes from frustration from the fans who love the club but can't actually do anything to help the players on the pitch during the game as well. So we've got Paul Holden: it must be difficult for Zaha given the time he's been with us. He wants to leave on a high, in his opinion. Ryan Corbett: not one but unprofessional. But professional though, is it? Daniel Garlick agrees with me. Thanks, Dan. There's a couple of others. Lee Terry Tibbs Lockwood: our problem is, in truth, we only ever have one world-class player, and that's Will. If we had another on the wing, he wouldn't be so upset at being targeted all too often. Probably agree with that, really. I think that says it.
I'm surprised Lee didn't play in the training pitch.
Yeah, was it him that did it last week?
Sorry, Lee.
Musty, I'm going to finish on this one, Ian. Okay, and then I'm actually going to add a point to. We've done Jairo already, really, but so I'm going to add a fourth one to that list in a second, if you don't mind. I'm going to finish off on Wilf by Musty Cham. Good evening, Musty. Zaha: do we let him go in January? Would you accept £50 million plus Michy Batshuayi for him from Chelsea? And just get Watkins from Brentford. Now, those two subjects are subjects you and I have covered time and time again. Ian, your thoughts on that subject? £50 million.
We covered that last week, but we'd need to get Ollie Watkins first. I would, because I think the discussion we were having last week was about Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and I'm saying he's not worth 30 million or 30 million tops, and we were having this discussion. So I think Batshuayi and 50 million for Zaha, I'd accept, because Batshuayi is a £30 million player. There's your £80 million. And regardless of what people think, even if it's player plus cash, the 25% that's owed to Man United is based on the total value of the deal. So supplementing it with players isn't going to get us out of paying £20 million. So that's the cold hard truth of it. What we need to do is we need to get someone in, and as I say, maybe we could put PVA on the wing. I know I said it in jest, but there's an option now. And at least with Jairo behind, that would really solidify that left side. But Watkins is now scored another goal, at least one, wasn't it, yesterday? His price is going, we've missed that. Ben was saying a couple of weeks back, wasn't he, that there was a deal agreed and for some reason we decided not to take it any further, and that was agreed like 12 months ago. So it's just bonkers. So yes, in answer to your question, Musty, yeah, I would, but I'd get Watkins in first.
There was also one, I can't see it, somebody, we need to talk about Vicente Guaita. Is he Manos de Deus? Okay, is he turning into the greatest? The
Ben.
question was it
That
Ben?
was our lovely Ben
Right, okay. Ben
Agnew.
So his question was, is Vicente Guaita turning into our best goalkeeper of all times? And before you answer that, everybody out in the chat, okay, because I want your opinion, is he turning into one of the best goalkeepers we had? Let me just give you a quick few off the top of my head, okay? John Jackson, Nigel Martin, Julian Speroni, okay? You can put Guaita in good company, but can you put Guaita above all of them? I'd like to know your opinion in the chat, please, and I will read out some of your answers when they come through in the next few minutes. Guaita, tell me what we've got on our hands here, Ian.
Sorry, tell you what.
Tell me what you think we've got on our hands in Vincent
he's
Guaita.
just. I mean, my brother would be better qualified as a goalkeeper anyway, but it doesn't take a goalkeeper to understand just how valuable he is to us and what a good. I mean, this is the crazy thing about our dealings in the market. The free transfers we've got lately, him and Cahill, have been fabulous. Maya could still turn out to be okay, but I think he's got a little longer to go, and we played in the right place. And yet, when we buy players, we're struggling, or we struggle to get players across the line. But in Guaita, we've got a fabulous goalkeeper. I would put him on a par with Jules at the minute. I think he's every bit as good as shot stopper. His command of his area is better than Jules, and his distribution is better than Jules. So I would say he's already on a par with Jules for me. He's got to do it more, over a consistently long basis as Jules did, but he's already there. So in answer to Ben's question, yes, he is the new Manos de Deus as I would see it. For me, the best Palace goalkeeper I've ever seen. I wasn't fortunate enough to see John Jackson, but Nigel Martin. Now that guy was an absolute beast. Controlled his area, not fazed by absolutely battering centre forwards as he came up for the ball or getting battered by them.
Yeah, he was all right, but he was no Perry Suckling or George Wood, though, was he?
No, thankfully.
or Brian Parkin. Brian Parkin wasn't too shabby.
Yeah, we're putting him out there.
Where did you drag that one out?
Yeah. You said before the show, don't ask me anything about previous players.
Exactly.
No, transfers. I haven't got a clue on transfers. Palace players, I'm fine.
I'll tell you now, we have a dark horse sitting in
there. Yeah, I know. And he's just outed you on the pod as well, Lucy.
I know, yeah, thanks.
Right, Lucy, hang on a minute. Ian.
Martin, I think, is still the best for me anyway.
And I agree. And I'm only joking. Lucy, over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to read some of the comments on people's favourite goalkeepers. Mine is Nigel Martin every day, all day. So here we have Nigel Martin for me from Sommer Kierson. We've got Andy Stacey, Carlo Nash, I think that's tongue-in-cheek. Steve Brimble, Nigel Martin all day long. Mikko Kuronen, Vincent Guaita will be a club legend if he stays another 2 seasons. Now, I agree with that. It's too soon to be calling him like the new Jackson. We've got Lee Terry Tibbs Lockwood, not as great as Jackson yet. Have a look through these, hang on. And we've got Daniel Garlick saying Nigel Martin, Julian Speroni, and then Guaita. David Hancock saying his saves definitely getting there. Who has?
Budgie, John Burridge.
Now, where Burridge was great, and that's when I first started when I was about 6 and about 76, 77. I was always fascinated by his acrobatic warm up as a kid. I don't remember much about him as a goalkeeper, but his warm up was legendary.
And you know what? Even to this day, and it wasn't so long ago that we actually interviewed him on Homesdale Radio when he was in his existence. That bloke is as nutty as a box of frogs. They say you've got to be mad to be a goalkeeper, okay? Kevin Lyons is the classic example of that, as we know, okay?
Yeah.
But John Burridge, total and utter loon tune. Total and utter loon tune.
Isn't Burridge infamous for sitting in his front room with goalkeeper gloves on, watching TV and getting his missus to throw oranges across the room?
I wonder what you're going to go. Right.
Okay, I've got a couple more comments here. So Matty Cannon, Vincent Guaita definitely will be. Early days, but he is a world-class keeper and gives his all in every game. Great athleticism and brilliant shot stopper, even at point blank. Rarely saves and then puts it back in the danger zone, which is, as we know, very is crucial. Kept us out of so much trouble and likely scored us many points this season.
Where are they getting these names from? I mean, they're brilliant. Karali came up in conversation. Thank you, Andy Stacey. Who else we got in there? I'm just trying to... Nigel Martin... Box of Frogs, They were talking about lots of people loved John Burridge. Kirali. Oh, Steve Mandanda. I think you're on drugs.
Yeah, Nick, can I just highlight this one here by Rob Donovan? Because I clocked this yesterday. Have you watched Guaita when the ball is down the other end? He practices saving the ball. The guy doesn't stop. He's like stretching, he's jumping up and down. As you say, he's totally in the zone. It's fantastic. It's like a great screensaver.
Really good point. Right, let's cover something a little bit more contentious now, boys and girls. Now, I want to talk about an incident that I was unaware of during the game. Okay, but something happened in the Holmesdale end, and I want to put some clarity on it. Okay, now the guys in the middle, the HF, you'll all know that I've never been their strongest supporter, and I will always call them out when I think they're out of order. Example will always be Brighton away, as we all know. We all know that. So move on from that. That's not what this is about. This will not be a Nick Philpott calling out the HF scenario. Some idiot in the Holmesdale, in the lower Holmesdale yesterday afternoon, pulled out a Greek flag when Cenk Tosun came on. Okay, he pulled out a Greek flag because they want to involve politics in football. Keep it out of my club, you arseholes. Okay? And then on social media, the HF are getting called out for this. It was not the Holmesdale Fanatics. In fact, it was the Holmesdale Fanatics that were leading the cheers for him, okay, when he came on. If you remember, it was the same time as Aubameyang got sent off that Tosun came on to make his debut for the club. There was even allegations of the HF were booing him when he came onto the pitch. It was not aimed at Tosun. It was aimed at Aubameyang walking down the tunnel. So if I ever found out who that person was with the Greek flag, I will call you out live on air, you clown. Okay? If you're a member of Red and Blue News, please locate the delete button and leave this group. Okay? I don't want any politics on our page. There is no room for politics in sport. This is a Crystal Palace family club. And if you don't like one of the players that are playing for us, go and support Charlton because you'll be welcome over there, okay? Any thoughts on what I've just said, Ian?
I was just about to go on about momentum and, okay, well, we'll stop that.
Okay.
No, I completely agree. It's just bonkers again. Why are we just trying to upset our own players? Giving Wilf grief, giving a new striker grief. Where's it all going to end? It just points.
It wasn't that though. Okay, right. I've got another question for you. John Knox said, okay, and this is in the chat on the chat page. I think this morning actually. He said, "Hello, John. Again, good to see you yesterday, buddy. Nice. Hope you're well. Do you think we missed Luca? Good question, actually. Do you think we missed Luca yesterday? And why does Roy play Mayer in the worry that he? I can't read the rest of his message, but the nuts and bolts.
I think I got the gist of that. He's saying, why is he playing him in the wrong position?
Right. Okay. So Luke, and I went back and answered that question. What do you think we missed Luca yesterday? I said actually we missed Wilf yesterday. If I'm honest with you, because he wasn't there, was he? Very much. Go on, Ian. Luca.
That was technically funny.
And that technically wasn't.
Yeah. Got a bigger laugh though. Right. Yeah, no, I agree with the Max Meyer bit. We've been saying this for a few weeks until he's actually been given a chance for a couple of games. We've seen with Riederveld, everyone knows there's a player there. Everyone knows there's a player in Meyer. Until they're given a run of games in a position that they can feel comfortable in, knowing that they're not going to get hiked off, we won't necessarily see the best out of them. As far as Luke is concerned, well, clearly we're not missing him. I think the only time we will miss him is when there is a penalty. That would be interesting to see who takes the next penalty if we get one in the next couple of games.
And no PVA either to step up.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think with Luke, to be fair, I mean, we dug him out early doors on the season and he's improved since. But he's a frustrating character. So I will say he frustrates the hell out of me. He could be so much better than he actually is. He's too easily swayed and influenced by the opposition rather than dominating them and then doing what he's best at, pinging the ball around and just screening that back four. Until he learns how to do that and, you know, exclude everything else, he'll always be in that rut, I'm afraid.
I agree, mate. I agree. Lucy, did we miss Luke yesterday?
Yes and no, really. I think that certainly the first half an hour we got bossed, absolutely bossed around, and we gave them far too much respect. Would Luca have assisted with that? Well, with that not happening, I'm not sure. Our set pieces, McCarthy was taking. Well, he certainly took a couple, and they were really bad, really bad. So
he got slated for that. I'll tell you that. It was a good point because he got slated for that on social media as well, didn't he? Oh,
a terrible corner, a terrible free kick late on. I think there were 2 free kicks that just. Well, where's that going? Like no one's there. That really bad. Like
didn't one of his corners go out for a throw-in?
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah. That was the second half, wasn't it? Yeah, terrible.
Awful. Okay, I'm going to throw something random at you. It was actually come from Mark Johnson. Okay, he asked a question, and I'm not going to tell you what he says. Actually, Mark, thank you for your question, but you just instigated another question that I'm going to ask these two. If you were picking player of the season right now, who would it be?
Well, I know I've got that same question sitting in front of me, so I know who you think. But that's a tough one. For me, I think I probably agree with Mark. I'd say Guaita at the minute. Although what I would say is I also think that Kelly and Cahill are in the running. They are unsung. Certainly Kelly is. Cahill has shown his class, and unfortunately he's had a couple of injuries, which has meant he's not been around for too long. But when that boy's on the pitch, we are such a more organised team. And I'm surprised he actually wasn't captain yesterday. It was nice to see Tompkins captain.
Lots of bits and pieces coming through on the chat on that subject. Kevin Lyons says maybe MacArthur. Rob Donovan saying Tompkins. James Conway saying Guaita. Mark Vincent saying Guaita as well. Interesting. I'll tell you what. And not one person on there. Not one person. Come on, everybody in the chat.
Hold your thinking there, Nick. I'm gonna steal your thunder a bit there. So in the other chat we have Ryan Corbett saying AU all day long. Soma Kearson, Vincent, Ty K. We have AU, Will Robbs, Guaita, Lee Terry Tibbs, Lockwood, Guaita again, Matt Masters, Guaita, Claire Davis, AU. So definitely between Guaita and AU. But
I think there's something. And you know, out of everything you just said, Lucy, and everything everybody in Chatland has just said, okay, somebody's missing from that. Okay, nobody has mentioned Wilf Zaha, who is our player of the year on year for the last 5 years. Really, let's be honest here. Is everybody's player of the season, player of the year, or whatever you call it, and nobody, not a single person, including you and Ian, have said.
Well, like I would want to say IU. However, I think Vincent Guaita makes the players in front of him better players as well. Cahill has been fantastic, but when we've seen Wayne in between the sticks, there's always that sort of flapping aspect to the back four. But when Guaita's in there, they just seem that bit more reassured. Everything just seems that bit more composed, which is why he gets it
for me, it's if you don't concede goals, you'll never lose, right? And defenders, I mean, have you seen with Van Dijk for the FIFA, the world Player of the Year, and it's all about a game about people scoring goals. That's not what you've only got like 4 people on the pitch that are up front and should by rights be scoring a lot more than they bloody do. It's the boys defending in the back line and the keeper that actually make you hard to beat and actually give you the platform from which to move on. And we're all guilty to a certain extent of being blinded by, the shiny thing up front. Someone scores 6 goals and all of a sudden is a world beater and is player of the season when someone's probably saved about 40 between the sticks. It's a bit of balance, isn't it? But it's having that nous to see it for what it is. I'm going to stick with the back line because they've done really well.
Okay. But also, what I'm going to ask you now, ladies and gentlemen, is a question I would normally ask in the last couple of minutes of the show, but I'm purposely asking you it early because I want responses from as many of you out there as possible, please. Can you tell me who yesterday was your man of the match? Obviously a Palace player. Who was your man of the match? And you are watching the only Palace podcast you can watch while I'm waiting for your questions to come through, your answers to come through. Who was your man of the match yesterday? Because Luce and I have our own thoughts, and we will share them in a minute, okay? And while we're waiting for that to come through, Jordan Stewart, 2 questions. What do we do with VAR? Should it be scrapped? Should the referee be allowed to look at the screen straight away to make the decision? Or is it the new offside and handball rules that are the issue? Well, we know... Okay, mate, I asked the question. I'll let you answer it. Go for it.
Well, we've already seen it, with Michael Oliver doing it. Yes, they should be. Apparently, he took it off his own back to do that. More should be taking that lead and doing it because there was what was it I saw today? The Villa game, Man City. The Villa got a penalty in the last seconds, and it was a penalty all day long, and it still took them a minute to decide it. That's rubbish. They've got to just say, if he said, to be fair, the ref actually gave the penalty. But he could have just said, look, I'm going to quickly run over there, have a look. He could have run over there 20 seconds, seen it once and gone, yeah, penalty, shut up. It's a penalty. The sooner they do it, the better. That's why it was so successful in the World Cup. And that is why VAR is here to stay. It's good for the game if implemented and used properly. And I think that, as Jordan's quite rightly pointed out, is the issue. Yeah, you can do a bit of a change with the law for the offside as well, but it's here to stay, and it will get better.
Lucy.
Riedewald. Without doubt. No, it's very close with AU, but Riedewald.
So what's everybody saying? So
everybody is saying it's a toss-up really between Riedewald and AU. So let's get some comments. Paul Solon, Jairo was my man of the match. Rob Donovan, the same as Max, same as Jason Green, and Lee Huntley says Vincent Guaita. Most people saying Riedewald, to be fair. Mark Vincent, Jairo. I'm going to have to learn to say that if I'm going to come on here, aren't I? Mark Vincent, AU never stopped running. He didn't, and he played the full 90 as well. Normally he gets subbed off sort of 70, 75 minutes in.
Graham Kitch is saying, so, I mean, on this...
And he was smiling.
Lucy, on the subject of the VAR, we had a conversation while it was going on yesterday, and the sending off. And it was, what you don't know, because I never told you, was that it was very similar away at Norwich when I went to Norwich away and the Wickham goal. People are slagging VAR off, for numerous reasons, because an armpit's offside or a toenail's offside or whatever. But to me, there are times where it actually adds to the excitement. And we had that conversation, if you remember, yesterday.
Definitely.
And I said, the longer this goes on, Luce, there's something here.
Yeah.
There's something, and all of a sudden, the decision starts coming through or filtering through. And we knew before we pulled that red card out that he's going to get sent off, didn't we? We were just...
Yeah, quite right. It swings and roundabouts, isn't it? It's the first season. There are some new rules that don't really lend themselves to making VAR a success, like the offside rule and the handball rule. Totally ridiculous. But VAR enforces those, and then that makes it ridiculous. But the length of time it took for that red card to come through, when you look at it, a couple of seconds, that's a red card. That is serious foul play. Regardless of the intention, it was a dangerous tackle. That could have been a career-ending tackle. Why it took, how long was it? 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes? Which feels like a lifetime when you're waiting for it. But it kind of did add to quite a bit of tension for it. So,
that's the point. That's exactly the point I was making. I mean, I went grey while I was waiting for it. I don't know if you noticed, I've gone very grey overnight, ladies and gentlemen. Ian, I'm coming to you now because it was the same thing on the Wickham goal a couple of weeks ago. The longer he went on, hang on a minute, we thought he was massively offside. We thought he was a million miles offside. It shows you what we know. But and then the excitement started. The longer this goes on, the more chance of this going to be overturned. What do you think? Because
I can just quickly go back to the Aubameyang one. Because I was playing and we could hear people on the touchline talking about it as we were playing. Did the game actually go on after he gave him his yellow card and then he said, hang on a minute, I've just got a call? Or while the game had stopped and he was receiving treatment, he then got the red card? Yeah, it was the latter. The game hadn't restarted. Because what I was thinking was, if the game had gone on for 30 seconds or whatever, maybe even a minute, and Aubameyang had scored, what would have happened then? What would you have done? Would you have cancelled the goal? Or these are like the grey areas that everyone's going to say, "Oh, that never happened," but it will. And it will at some stage, invariably against England in a World Cup semi-final or something along those lines, and then all hell will break loose. But as far as VAR is concerned, I mean, I've had a 2-minute rant on it earlier, but the offside one, the armpit one, they've got to have tolerance levels. The advantage should always be with the attacker. Always. There should be like a 10 centimetre tolerance and say, look, do you know what? Tough. Goal. The other thing I've noticed that they've decided they're going to change now is at the moment the two lines that they draw are drawn with Jill Holyoake's crayons, and they're going to change the system whereby they're going to narrow the gauge of the lines that they draw across the pitch to make it that much easier. The thing is evolving. It's the first season of VAR. Last year, we were all calling for VAR. We thought Palace were going to get a string of Zaha penalties. Well, it just hasn't materialised. But the thing is evolving. Give it time. It will get there. It will really get there. I wanted to look at... Listen, VAR's not... Let's get something straight right now. VAR has got very, very little wrong. Okay? The only issue with VAR is that it is taking too long to make the decisions. That's all. So VAR is working. Glad all over VAR. Now, while you've got a mug up, is that a nice little segue? Do you know what? The segue was meant to be there. Okay, over to you, my man. Ladies and gentlemen, you might need VAR for this next bit. I'm telling you, you may need VAR for this next bit. There's a segue. That's a segue. That's a segue, mate. I'm telling you. Right. Okay. The January competition for one of these little beauties, rare as hen's teeth. Not even all our production staff have got one. So, I mean, these are uber rare. So, we ran a competition this week. Thank you. 60 entrants. That's ridiculous. Well done, guys and girls. The competition was to guess the total number of goals that would be scored in this weekend's Premier League matches and then have a tiebreaker as to the score of the game. Now, up until 20 seconds to go before the end of the Man City Aston Villa match, we had a winner, a clear winner. With that penalty we were just discussing, which was converted with the last kick of the game, we then ended up with 4 people who got the number of goals correct on 27, 3 of which also got the correct score for yesterday's game. Those 4 were Max Francis, Clive Tickner, Jordan O'Dare and Ian Garrard. Unfortunately, Clive, you went for a 2-1 loss. The other 3 went for 1-1. Now, what we're going to do, because these are so scarce and because it will bankrupt us if we go 3 away, right, we are going to do a draw live on air. So,
VAR.
Max, that's
Higher.
you.
Higher, yeah.
Fold it. That is going in my glass, my Crystal Palace Beer Festival glass. Jordan, you're in there also.
You're in the pot, mate. You're in the pot. Congratulations. Sally's your mum for me.
Was that a cryptic clue?
No,
right.
Higher.
Ian
Garaldi, that's it.
You're also in. Right. Nick, Lucy, can you give me some beatboxing or a drum roll?
Yeah, loose.
Come on, one of you. That's it. I'm going in. Right, I've got one.
And the winner is, live on air, higher. Max Francis. Congratulations, Max. Well done.
Right,
you are a winner.
Max, if you DM us or email or message us your address details, we'll ensure you are only the 2nd person to have won one of these mugs. Well done, mate.
And seriously, thank you very much for Ian for collating all that stuff. But thank you for each and every one of you who's entered that. Lucy, over to you.
Right, so just very, very quickly, I'm just going to put a photo up here, which was taken yesterday morning. I did the walk and talk for Men's Mental Health Walk from Waterloo Station at 8:15 to Selhurst Park. So it was lovely to meet a few of you on that walk, raising awareness for that very good cause. So thank you very much for everyone that was very lovely and chatted to me, and good effort. There's another photo here. I'll just grab that as well. Yeah. As this was when we actually arrived at Selhurst Park afterwards at the end. So thank you very much. It was great walk to do. There's going to be lots more, so we'll post all the dates and times of those, and I would encourage you to get involved because it was great fun. Really, really good. So
well done to the pair of you for doing it as well. Well done.
Not me, Lucy. Lucy.
Man, is that for the 2nd time running? You didn't finish the walk.
I didn't start it either yesterday. Ian, a word about mental health, men's mental health, and what people should do in throwing you under the bus. Go.
Well, thanks. Right. After Nick and I did the one on the corresponding fixture, unfortunately, my best mate then took his own life a few weeks later. And it certainly brought it home to me with regards to mental health, not just through men, for women as well. And also the fact that even though someone tells you they're okay, just check with them, just make sure, be proactive, make sure that they're aware and they understand that there's someone there willing to listen. And it's just something as simple as that. You'll never know when you actually prevent something more serious just by making that contact, but at least they will know that they're not alone. And I think that's the best thing.
Ask them if they're okay, and do you know what?
Yeah.
And then ask them again. Ask them twice. If you've got somebody you're worried about, ask them if they're okay, and then ask them again. Men's mental health, massively important subjects out there, and I want to make sure that right. So what's coming up for us next? So we've got 2 games coming up. We've got Man City away on Saturday the 18th at the Etihad at 3 p.m. And following that, Tuesday the 21st at Selhurst Park at 7:30 kickoff against Southampton. Very important game if you think about it. Really important game. That Southampton game. We are already 7 or 8 points off safety. Okay,
we're 9 points, I think.
Well, if you're talking, what are you talking about? 38, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant off the bottom. Sorry.
No. I'm talking about safe.
It's not going to be 40 points this year. It's going to be 44, 45 points. Everyone's taking points off everyone else.
Right, and I would start, if you don't mind. Okay, I'm going to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for everybody all over the world, wherever you are watching the show. Lucy and Ian, thank you both very much. I want to wrap up, if you don't mind, on something a little bit different. Okay, now you'll be aware that the Red and Blue Review, we're a family. We've got thousands of people on the page, 7,000 members, a lot of which are expats all over the planet. Simon, Tim. All the guys out there. So I'm going to do something which is not actually football related. So forgive me in advance. Before we go, I would like to send our support and best wishes to our members down under, who clearly are going through a bad time with the bushfires in Australia over recent weeks. If you would like to help, we've been passed a link to the New Zealand Animal Evac charity, okay, that's doing a lot of work to help saving these affected and the animals that have had their habitat devastated. They have a money raising page that Lucy's going to put up on the screen in a minute. It's a worthwhile thing. I'm sure you'll agree. It's massive. Okay, have you seen the pictures of those poor animals all lining up at a fence and just cooked? For everybody and there are Palace fans out there, that this is personally affecting. I mean, I know of one that has lost their home out there. So heartfelt love from all of us on Red and Blue Review. And finally, from me, I'd like to thank John Lyons, as always, Graham Kitcher, Kevin Lyons, and Tom Clark Samuel for your continued support with extra bits outside the main show, and your support, whoever you are out there, would be more than welcome. We need your support. We need your love and in return. So if you've got final words from you, Lucy?
No, nothing from me. Just thanks very much for joining the show.
Absolutely, Ian.
Yeah, as always, the numbers are getting bigger, getting better. Thank you for your interaction and engagement with both the competition and the questions. They help us get this show out. And we'll see you next week.
Absolutely right. So on behalf of myself, Nick Philpott, have a safe week, everybody. We will be back for the Man City review next Sunday evening. On behalf of Lucy and Ian and myself, God bless. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good night.